Driving in the Philippine province. Province, when people use the term province, it generally means outside of the big city, even though every place in the Philippines is in a province, just like in the US, every place is inside of a state, except Washington, D.C. Driving in the province, you can see the roads are wide open. Look at this, even 4 lanes out here for a stretch. And I am going from Argao, which is a town south of Cebu City on Cebu Island, going down to Dalaguete, which is Dalaguete up in the mountains. Is called the breadbasket of Cebu because they grow so much vegetables and fruits up in that area. You go up in elevation, it gets cooler. Now this is rather unusual to have a long stretch of 4-lane concrete road here, and it's not as smooth as it looks. My average speed was probably between 50 and 60 kilometers per hour. That would convert to 30 to 40 miles per hour about, and I think my top speed out on an open stretch with relatively smooth pavement, I think maybe 75 I think would be about pretty close to 45 miles per hour. So you're not making very good time, and you're going to see up ahead there are sections where there's construction and or, as you did in one of my previous videos, construction or traffic, little towns. The Philippines is a small country relatively with a lot of people, and there's towns, and there are things to be aware of, tricycles, pedestrians, dogs, chickens, you name it, out in the road that might run out in front of you. Markets, shopping areas, and you just need to really be aware of what's going on around you. And it ain't going to happen if you're traveling at 70 miles an hour versus 50 kilometers per hour. We had a situation here, 1 lane, and in fact everybody had to back up a little bit and let the oncoming traffic get through that 1 lane for a while, and then we were allowed to go through. I'm going to make some generalizations, and they are relatively general. They are true in much of Cebu Island. Now, you get on other islands, things can change. One thing I found is that once you get out of the bigger cities like Cebu, is that the use of helmets becomes less. Although I've seen helmets even out in the province, out in the country. There again, depending upon the area that you're in, more and more people are wearing helmets now. I've seen videos up in Manila where they're setting up checkpoints, and they're even giving citations if you're wearing sandals or no shoes, if you're not wearing a helmet, if you're not wearing a proper helmet. And that's the case many times. People are not. They might have a bicycle helmet or some other helmet that isn't approved by the LTO, Land Transportation Office. You almost never see a highway patrolman like you would see in the USA, for instance, or Canada or other parts of America, and Europe and Asia, probably Africa, maybe. I don't know. You'll see vehicles that say police. In fact, the police will drive around with their lights flashing all the time. And early on, I was over on Bohol Island, and I told the taxi driver, "Hey, you've got a policeman behind you with his lights flashing. Don't you have to stop?" And he said, No, they always drive around with their lights flashing." And I said, "Well, how will you know if they want to stop you?" And the answer is, well, they'll turn their siren on. So be aware of that. But very rare to see a speed limit sign or anybody following any speed limits. There are people going very slow, or you might get a ticket in America for going too slow and impeding traffic, and people going much faster than what the legal speed limit is. And you can look that up online. Do any of you know what the legal speed limits are on the highways and byways of the Philippines? I will give you some of that information a little later in this video. But yeah, there are very rare. I read about, I think when the CCLEX, Cebu Cordova Link Expressway Bridge was finished, I think they got some speed guns, you know, little guns for police to use to see how fast you're going. They had a number of accidents down in South Road property area, and I think they started trying to enforce some speed limits for a while, and they still have some lower speed limits on that bridge going across over to Mactan Island. Relatively low speed limits, I think even 50 kilometers an hour, which there again is close to 30 miles per hour. And you know, the last time I was over there a number of months ago, I drove that, but I had almost virtually everybody was passing me. And nobody was obeying it except me, but there were no enforcers out there as well. I've seen a few more enforcers out in the province. They're, you know, like Cebu City, I think over the last couple of years, they've hired 200 or more traffic enforcers, and they're generally not in cars. They are standing on the side of streets, and they're waving different people over, checking their documents. If they see them going through a stoplight or something, they'll give them a citation. But basically, there's almost no stop signs that I know of. There are a few stoplights, and a few more than there used to be a few years ago. But like in the U.S., you could get pulled over for going over the center line, for instance, and they'll use that as an excuse to pull you over. And I've got a couple of friends who were former highway patrolmen in different countries. New Zealand, for one. Bob, how you doing down there? And use little infractions that really aren't that important to pull you over and check out and see if you've been drinking, other types of things like that. You don't. Up in some of the Manila areas, I think they have more traffic enforcers and certain lanes for certain types of vehicles, and they're trying to enforce that in some areas, because traffic in Manila is just most parts, especially during rush hour, just really, really bad from everything I've heard. So what happens if you break down in the province, or you break down in town? There are more and more repair shops. What if you have a flat tire? Well, there are, every few kilometers probably, there's a vulcanizer. That's a guy that about all he does is repair tires. And I'm just coming into the town of Dalaguete, and my plan is to go take a right, go up into the mountains. I missed my turn. I was paying attention to traffic, not to the signs. There's a sign. There's a road goes up into the mountains, up into the farming areas, and I'm gonna go down here and do a U-turn, go back to that road, and head up the mountain. The Philippines does have a few freeways up in the Luzon, up in the Manila area, and and they're building more. I've seen some of the videos of that. But anyway, the infrastructure, the highway system has a ways to go, widening and fixing the roads. One thing to be careful of, you know, in many, you know, cities have their own, in the U.S., for instance. Cities have their own ordinances about what you can and can't do. States do. There's federal laws, and lots of police, city police, city police, state police, federal police. Your chances of being pulled over some infraction much greater there than it is here, definitely. Feels good here in a way that you're kind of free out here, and I took that left turn, and I'm headed up the mountain. Many of the this north-south road that goes from the north end of Cebu Island to the south end, there are many places where you can get off. There's various types of beaches. There are not very many white sand type beaches, but there are beaches that you can go to, resorts that you can go to. There are mountain. This is actually the left turn that I'm making. That's going to take me up the mountain, and I'm going to do another video going up the mountain and some of the sights up there. But every island, every town, I had somebody comment a while back that once you've seen one town, you've seen them all. Well, not in my opinion. It just depends upon your attitude, I guess. Every town has their unique characteristics, personality. You've got different types of resorts. You've got mountain resorts. You've got waterfalls. Mountains, you can go hiking, caves in many parts of the Philippines. Just depends on what you want to do. Beaches, fishing. I've been doing a little bit of research about fishing here in the Philippines, and there are fishing groups. Some that go out more locally, some that occasionally take a trip out and do some tuna fishing for the big fish, in fact, and do more research about that. That would be fun to do someday. Anyway, I'm going to, it would be interesting to hear some of the experiences from you guys that live in different parts of the Philippines, your driving experiences. When you have issues and breakdowns, is it easy to get the parts? Do you have to wait a week, a month to get parts for your vehicle? Anyway, I'm going to shut this down now, and we'll have another video coming up in another day or two. Stay safe, safe travels. See ya.